Hi, ladies. Dionysia here, and I wanted to take some time out with you today to share with you some thoughts I've had recently about the patriarchy. Now, many of us are familiar with the patriarchy and the ins and outs of it and how we're all living with it, especially us as women, and how it affects our men too. And even big movies like Barbie or Poor Things have really sort of started taking on the patriarchy in a more outspoken way in the past year, which is, from my perspective, thrilling and timely. But I had an experience the other day that made me start thinking about this again, and I wanted to share that with you. Many of you know that I am traveling extensively right now, and I currently am in Scotland. And I have been in Edinburgh for a few weeks, and I love how goddess spirituality, pagan spirituality shows up here. It's all deep, deep, old witchcraft. And I love how accessible it is here and how expressive it is here. And so I went into one of the witchcraft shops in Edinburgh, back on a little cobblestoned street, like mind blowing, the places that I've been. Um, and I reached for a book on the shelf, black cover, white title, and the title is Witches. And wait, in fact, it might have been witch singular. In any case, I thought, yeah, I want to see that. So I went about one of my little practices that I love, which is to just sort of put my hands on the outer covers of the book and ask spirit, my guides, to show me what they would have me see and open to whatever page they open it to. So I did that, and the page that it opened to was about how the patriarchy lives inside of us. And that's what I wanted to talk with you about today. Now, this was not an entirely new concept to me, but I really liked how this author was writing about it. And it got me thinking about, what do we do about that? And specifically, the way that she was discussing how the patriarchy lives inside of us, that I also often teach about, is things like our body image issues, the multi-billion dollar industry around women changing their bodies, everything from going to have our hair done, to our makeup, to all the products that we use, to at the other, far end of that spectrum, plastic surgery, which is one of the most, profitable businesses in the US for sure, and maybe in the world right now, and all of the various ways that women have their bodies altered. And I think that this is a type of form of how we have internalized what the patriarchy has told us about woman, about woman's body, which is that it's, sinful, shameful, dirty, smelly. And even if we're not religious or have outgrown any kind of religious conditioning that we might have experienced in younger life, those things are deeply rooted. Patriarchy has been the ruling system for about 5,000 years now. And I believe that we're in a time period right now, and this is also true according to the Mayan prophecy, in which the patriarchy is crumbling, it's coming apart, because it is full of systems that don't work. And we know that. It creates so many problems for lower income people, lower class people, minorities, women versus men, and on and on and on. These are not things that we're unaware of because we live them, right? We know this to be the experience in ourselves and most of the people around us. But what we often don't talk too much about, or even enough about, is how we've internalized those things, how it lives inside of us. It's one thing for us to be angry, even rageful, when we see horrific things happening that we know are due to this outdated, toxic masculine system. And again, this is not about man bashing, because I truly believe that, in fact, I know that men have really suffered in this system as well, in as much as being cut off from their emotions, being cut off from truly getting to know the beauty of woman. And I don't just mean a woman, but woman, what woman is. And I think that a lot of us as women also get sort of cut off from what woman is because we're battling all of these messages inside of ourselves. I should have been taller and thinner. I should lose more weight. I gained weight at menopause. Now I have cellulite. My body has changed in this way. My body doesn't look like that image. My body doesn't fit that idea of perfection, right? Like this stuff goes on and on and on, to the point, like I was just saying, of women having surgery to alter their bodies. And I believe that there's so much of that internalization that keeps us trapped, that keeps us sort of on the hamster wheel of that system of constantly striving for some ideal or perfection in how we look, in how we show up, in how we be. And I think this is damaging to us. And I believe that one of our, we women in this era and time on the planet, one of the biggest challenges to us is how to unravel all of that stuff from our psyche and live in the beauty and perfection of how God has created us to the best of our ability. Now, it might be that my daughter or her daughter or 2 or 3 generations away, this will be eradicated. Like that's my hope. I would love for my grandchild or great grandchild to never deal with the kinds of body image issues that I've dealt with, or that I've seen women friends deal with, or that I witness other women experiencing. I have that hope that this is going to be eradicated over time. But I think in the now, most of us, our best option is that we continuously confront it inside of ourselves. Not like, let's be confrontational, but like every time I hear that voice that says, you could stand to lose X amount of weight, then I want to turn towards that voice and go, I'm really dedicated to taking good care of my body temple and loving her in every stage of life. And I'm dedicated to living in a healthy way. And if that means I'm going to shed 10 pounds along the way, great. And if it doesn't, I'm okay with that. So like, that's one of a bajillion examples I could give you right now, but right, I don't need to do that. You know this, you have this inside yourself, whatever your version or versions of it is. And the way that I see it is, it's a bit like as if our internal world was a garden. And these things that I'm talking about are weeds or thorny plants that got thrown here by somebody else. They're not things that we chose to plant in our garden. And that this requires some weeding. And so we weed all of those gnarly things out of the garden. And the way that we do that is lovingly. And we pull it up by the root as best as we can. And if we don't get the root and it starts to sprout again, then we go back at it again, right? And again, lovingly. So my version of that, the way that I, encourage my clients to come into that, the way that I live it in myself is that I'm going to love myself to the very best of my ability. And every time I hear one of those old voices come up that I know is not mine, and that I know is related to that system that I do not want living in me, I'm going to turn towards it. I'm going to speak to it a truth about woman. Because I believe that the truth about woman is that we are mighty beyond description. We give birth, we bring life. There's not a single being on this planet, man, woman, or otherwise, that came here any other way than besides a woman's body. And what does that mean? It means that all of this external perfection imagery that has been fed to us, that I quite frankly believe a lot of men don't even ascribe to or aspire to or desire. Some, sure. But I think a lot of men really do want women to be in their natural beauty and in their power. And I think that we get to own that if we choose to. I also think, and I want to add this in here because I think it's an important piece, that adorning ourselves, meaning doing things with our hair or our makeup or our clothing or our jewelry that enhances our natural beauty, is an ancient art form. For example, we know that that the high priestesses of ancient Egypt had clay pots that were filled with coal that they would use for their eyes, right? Cleopatra, we know that she used makeup. We know that a lot of those women, also ancient tantrikas, removed all of the hair from their body because that was a beauty standard of the time, and also in the case of the tantrikas, for pleasure, for enhanced pleasure. So I'm not suggesting that we need to toss our bras and our razors and never use makeup again. Although, hey, if that's your thing, I support that too. Beautiful. I'm saying that we get to choose for ourselves, and that we get to empower ourselves by owning what our choice is, by knowing that it is our choice, rather than something that's being fueled by an idea or ideal that was, you know, thrown into our garden from outside of us. So I thought I would share that with you in this video today, in relationship to this pilgrimage to Greece, because so much of what I teach is based in what I've just been sharing with you. How are we going to continue to move ourselves out of patriarchal structures externally and internally? How are we going to continue to bring women's power to the forefront, more and more politically, financially, as well as emotionally and spiritually, for sure, and that those things don't have to be divided. So in pilgrimage, what are we doing? We're there to have a transformation. We're there to go towards something and receive something there that we're going to take back into our lives that changes us. And this is one of the ways that I approach that kind of transformation, is that I want to look at it head on. I want to name it for what it is. And I want to immediately look to how do we shift it? And that can be, different for each one of you individually. And in a small group retreat like the one going to Greece, there's a lot of opportunity to have one-on-one with me about whatever is actually true for you. What is the transformation that's needing to be had there for you, as well as getting that support inside of the group. We're going to do a lot of that while we're in Athens together. And in next week's video, you'll hear me talking about Athena, and then beyond that, the snake priestess at Knossos. But then also we're going to go do this week-long ceremonial week with other priestesses from around the world, this priestess convocation, where we're going to have yet even the next deeper layer of this thing that I'm talking about, of transformation, of bringing woman power up to face the patriarchy, what it has been, what it means for us now. How are we going to continue to weed that out of ourselves and create something different for generations to come, as well as for our own lives right now? And that will be in a larger group field with rituals that are meant to take us on a journey through that. So this entire 10-day pilgrimage is for you to take whatever's moving in your world right now, and especially anything that's about you being up against a glass ceiling, you needing to find some sense of your own power, feeling disconnected from that, you wanting to find some expression of your womanhood that feels true for you. Those are the kinds of things that are going to be coming up through this pilgrimage, that we're going to be working on directly through this pilgrimage, through being with me in the group setting and in the larger field of the convocation. So if there's something in your life that is needing that kind of attention, that kind of transformative power to really help you move beyond something that you've been up against, or to help you bring something in that you need, or to help you sort of excavate stuff that's been holding you back or that keeps you small, this pilgrimage is for that. Greece is a potent landscape. The temples, the palaces, the sea, the land, the food from the land. It is a potent landscape to have this happen in. It is the perfect setting for a pilgrimage that gives transformation. And you'll have me as your guide, a group of women who are there committed to this work, and the larger convocation community to and all of our familiars that might show up along the way, to help us move those energies together. So if this is appealing to you, I'd love to talk with you about it. If you're thinking about Greece and you just haven't been quite sure, let's discuss it. And if you're like, yeah, I need that, then all the buttons for registration are in the email below. I have also this time included a fact sheet. So I've been getting a lot of questions from many of you about this particular retreat, but also lots of things that come up in all of the international retreats that I lead. So I put all of that in one place for you. That's down at the bottom of this email underneath the itinerary. If you haven't seen that itinerary yet, check it out. It is spectacular. Like what we're doing in Greece is just off the charts. And again, if you have questions or doubts or thoughts or wonderments, reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk with you about it. You can email me. We'll find a time that we can hop on the phone and chat. If you have other women in your life you're like, oh my God, that retreat was made for her, send this on to her. Let's empower each other. Empowered women empower women. Okay. Thank you, beloveds. Blessed be.